because I was trying so hard to like keep the body I had when I was 30.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know what? That's exhausting. I don't have the energy for that. And when you're young, you have a little bit more energy to blow, so it's like, okay, so we spend it on things that maybe when you look back, maybe wasn't such a wise expenditure, but whatever, we had it at
Yeah.
the time. But now, then at one point, I said, I have to give my body to the divine, to my sacred self. And I have to let her tell me what is the right thing to eat. And it's a hard thing because we're so, we've read so much and we watch so many things and everyone tells you what you should do nutritionally. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
we get it's a distraction to listen to all that stuff and not
Yeah.
have any clue what the body really wants.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become the best possible versions of themselves and to strive for overall health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, all of the healths, without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who've been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time somebody shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. So yeah, how about you tell me a little bit about you and why you are or why you think you are the way that you are
Oh, that's a
or
good
who
question.
you are.
Yeah. Okay, so 30 years in Chinese medicine, started out in corporate. That was not fun. Sucked my soul dry. And I was like, I need to get a grip and do something. I want to wake up and feel really good about what I'm doing. So it
Mm-hmm.
took me a minute to sort of go through different jobs. I knew it was health related. And I worked in a health food store, health food restaurant, managed health club. I was getting close, right? But then, finally Chinese medicine found its way to me, in one of those synchronistic kind of ways. Actually, what was happening in the health, this is a story, in the health club managing is I got a massage once a week or once a month, and the massage therapist was going to acupuncture school. I'd never even heard of like Chinese medicine acupuncture back then. And then one day I was driving down the street where this acupuncture school was, and I heard this little kind of like voice of guidance say, "Stop at the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine." And I remember answering the voice and saying, "Well, I already know, Linda goes there and all she would tell me about is who was sleeping with who. I didn't really, she didn't really tell me stories about like the medicine, right?
Right.
Although, that was medicine to those people. Anyway, so I stop and I'm like, what am I going to ask these people when I get up there? And so this nice lady is up at this desk and I said, "Can I just see your curriculum?" I'm flipping through all these, classes and their, descriptions. And I thought, my cells literally started dancing. It was like, I have to do this. And then I don't know if you've had this experience, Katie, where, when you say yes to something and it's aligned with your soul, it's like it unfolds with
Mm-hmm.
very little effort. I mean, of course, I had to do certain things and all that, but transcripts and, whatever, but it's like, it just was meant to be. And it was a beastly experience, I will say. I mean, the studies, the testing, it's not an easy program, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And it has opened up so much for me. And when you say how has it made me who I am, I think one of the things that I've discovered is the meaning of life force or energy, which happens to
Mm-hmm.
be everything. And that is, like one of the things I studied in Chinese medicine and continue to study because it's like a never ending thing. It's like that poster behind you of the galaxy. it's, it's galactic, life force. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, what am I going to do with this energy? Nobody teaches us about our energy or how to manage it, let alone master it. So that has been my quest. And it takes me to places that are really juicy.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm just learning about the concept of energy, but I feel like lately I'm more tuned into like paying attention to different energies, if that makes sense. And
Totally.
like, because we know just like growing up or whatever, walking into a room, you can feel the
Feel,
energy of the
yeah.
room. If somebody who's in a bad mood is in there, you can feel the energy of that person. And
Yes.
it seems like for me just lately, I'm able to connect that it's the energy and
Ah,
not I don't want to say not the person, but just because energy is more than just people too. It's like everything around us.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
every particle of life on in the universe. And we
Hmm.
just happen to be, on a planet that has physical substance, energy that becomes bodies and plants and food and, all the things. It's like, but a lot of it is the empty space.
Yeah.
So that's the feeling that I think what you're describing, like you can feel that now.
Yeah. And it's energy in thoughts, it's energy
Yes.
in people, it's energy in behaviors, it's energy like even in our bodies. And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, that's so woo-woo." First of all, I love woo-woo.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And secondly, it's like our bodies, like our physical bodies are made of energy. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how woo-woo is it really?
Well, exactly. If it's the thing that makes up every bit of life, then it isn't woo-woo, it's life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I like to really talk about nature too, because when we talk about energy, it's like in Chinese medicine, the consideration is that a human being is a microcosm of the macrocosm of nature. So we have like wind and heat and dampness and those kinds of elements in our body too. And this is actually how Chinese medicine came to be. And I don't need to make this all about Chinese medicine, but it's just such a wonderful way of understanding our bodies, our minds,
Hmm.
and life and nature and how we are really all connected. We cannot be separate from nature. It's impossible. So,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I love it. I'm into like human anatomy and all that. And part of the my training as a personal trainer, they have a whole chapter on I think they call it bioenergetics or something like that. And it even
Yeah.
talks about like the name of the specific kind of energy that exercise uses and that foods create in your body. And I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God, this is so cool. I'm just
It's so
fascinated.
cool. I
Yeah.
know. And it's us, right? It's teaching us how we work. Why wouldn't we want to be, into that?
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what are some what word am I looking for? Like ahas have you had doing the work that you do? Does that make sense? Like
It
things
totally
that have
makes
made
sense.
you go,
Yes. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm getting chills you just asking that question. So I think I don't know what order these came in, but I'll try to remember, I'll try to put them in an order. The first one is that I think I already said it. Everything is energy. The second one is that we have 70 trillion cells in our body, and inside every single one of those 70 trillion cells are 70 trillion atoms. This is just what science, believes itself to know at this point.
hmm
Inside of every one of those atoms is a blueprint for wholeness. And it's
mm,
like, oh, gee, when I learned that, it like pushed me back. I was like, first of all, I can't even do the math on 70 trillion times 70 trillion,
right.
but it's like that is a lot of life force and wholeness that we have access to. And why are we culturally leaning into a current of disease? It's like, oh, well, we can just get out of that current by choice, you know?
Yeah.
And so that has become really important to me, not only in teaching people how to do it, but doing it myself. Like it's a practice. And what was the other thing I was just going to say about that is that I just lost it. um yeah, I guess those are the main things and just not believing this isn't what I was going to say, but this is another one dropping in, which is I have come to understand that our soul is very intentional about coming in and having this physical experience. So it, sets us up with a body.
Hmm.
And we drop ourselves into this matrix, which is, all programmed beliefs of suffering and hard and not enough and unworthy and disease and, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But on a soul level, I have this vision that we said, it's okay. It's okay. Let me in. It's a game board. I know it's a game. I'm going to find my way to the cheese. I know it's a maze, but I will find the cheese. And when we do, and so my personal experience of finding the cheese, and I'm not sure, I mean, I do like cheese, so it's not, this may not be the only cheese I find, but so far the cheese I've found is that, oh, the entire fabric of the universe is love, and light carries love. And that's what we're made of. We are a weave, we are a part of that tapestry. And so, what is my job? It's to acknowledge that in every moment, if I'm, operating on old programs, old, stories, old
Mhm.
traumas, then I'm actually not in line with life. And so that has been one of my main practices too. And it isn't easy, but it's okay that it's not easy because it's like we have been programmed for centuries. We brought in a lot of stuff in this lifetime in our
Yeah.
DNA. So it's like, that's okay. Just like all we have to tend to is our own stuff. Like something comes up, half of it's not ours anyway. Actually, 80% of it isn't ours. It's just in the collective. But if we get present to it, it's ours to release.
Right.
There's just a tiny percentage that's literally ours that we purposely said that will be my evolutionary growth edge. So I'm going to make sure I don't miss the expansion that's available to me in a physical experience. And so yeah, so those are our pieces that we brought in. Like for
Yeah.
some people it's abandonment or lack or whatever. They're the big ones, right? That we all have, and they push our back against the wall and they say you have to look at this and you have to grow.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. This is interesting. I was just talking to one of my clients about this today. Is like, I'm really big on the concept of noticing without judging.
Yes.
And because we function or our behaviors, a lot of what's driving the behaviors is unconscious. Like we don't know exactly what's driving our behaviors. And so I was telling her this concept of noticing without judging is just noticing behaviors or noticing whatever, because if it's not brought to the surface and you don't know it's there, you can't change it should you choose to.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So
Totally.
so like, and even if you do become aware of it and you choose not to do something about it, the whole point is that now you have a choice and it's not unconscious.
That is the whole
So
point. Yeah.
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 So
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And healing, real true healing, deep healing with lasting impact, which is the point of healing,
yeah.
is is using our conscious choice to, like to transform the energy that's present into something that's more serving.
Hmm.
So if we're judging or if we like, I don't know what we, there's a million things we judge, right? But then it's like when we catch ourselves in that choice point, then we can be in inquiry with our heart and say, well, what is calling me here? What is a bigger truth than this judgment that I get to walk myself into?
Yeah.
And that's
I've
called evolving, right? Like that's what we're supposed to do is evolve
yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
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 Um, I was gonna say I've become big too on self check-ins where
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
touch my heart and then I close my eyes and then I just try to listen to whatever it is I'm
Yes.
trying to tell myself, you know?
Katie, I'm with you. That is like
Yeah.
such a profound move. Like it's badass to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And the other
Yeah.
thing, because you said you were a physical trainer, is that physical
Yeah,
therapy?
personal trainer.
Personal trainer, right.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that's in in the human collective consciousness now is being more embodied.
Mm-hmm.
So you just said it, like you put your hand on your heart and you drop your awareness into your heart. Like that makes all of us, be more embodied, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just operating from our neck up and churning in our head and, just like all the, intensity that's there, it cuts off so much wisdom. Like,
Yeah.
what is the message of intelligence in this moment, right? Like, what's the wisdom or the guidance? Like what you said you do when you put your hand on your head, heart, and ask. It's like that is profound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mainly work with people who have a history of disordered eating and disordered exercise.
Yeah.
And the whole um I don't want to say the whole problem with people, but the whole thing with that is that people's minds are disconnected from their bodies when it's
100%.
actually one unit. And so, like, learning to do the whole self check-in for me has been listening to what your body needs
Yes.
versus doing what the outside world is telling you that your body
So
needs.
true.
Yeah.
That's like I have found to be 100% true. And you know, our hearts are portals to our higher self.
Mm-hmm.
So when we include our hearts with our head, the cool thing about our heart is it does not exclude our head. It's inclusive, right? But
Yeah.
our head excludes everything except for
Mm-hmm.
itself.
Yeah.
So it's like a lose-lose deal. Whereas when we do the inclusive thing with our heart, it's like it's a win-win for everything, especially for that higher wisdom or that higher self or that higher presence part of us, which is actually way more of who we are than the physical part.
Mm-hmm.
Then it gets to sort of flow into our heart and inform us and offer insights and release energy. And, you know, that's where true healing it and that the chemistry that gets released from our brain into our body when we're in that heart centered, you know, heart inclusive, connected to high self place is 100% different than when we're not, when we're disconnected,
Mm.
right? Like disconnected energy is like corrosive, acidic chemistry that gets released in our body. People wonder why they have high inflammation or, you know, pain a lot. It's like, well, this is part of it,
Yeah.
you know, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the whole concept of people don't understand why can't I just follow this diet because it's not your diet to follow. You need to experiment with yourself to find what diet you need to be following, you know?
Exactly. And I'm a big believer. This I've learned just over the decades. It's actually not even really about the diet, right? And
Yeah.
I'm clear you know this. It's about our relationship with our body.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the programming in the matrix is that we are self-critical and self-abusive. And if we're trying to scratch and claw from the outside, some external diet, some external way of looking that culture standards set, which are ridiculous, then we'll never find our way to, you know, an acceptance and a honoring of this body, this vehicle, this instrument that we purposely chose, you know,
Yeah.
to have as a life raft in this experience. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I I don't I think that you know, when I went through menopause, you know, there was all kinds of shit that went down. But anyway, one of the things was, you know, because I was trying so hard to like keep the body I had when I was 30. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, you know what? That's exhausting. I don't have the energy for that. And when you're young, you have a little bit more energy to blow, you know? So it's like, you know, okay, so we spend it on things that maybe when you look back, maybe wasn't such a wise expenditure, but whatever, you know, we had it at
Yeah.
the time. But now, then at one point, I said, I have to give my body to the divine, to my sacred self. And I have to let her tell me what is the right thing to eat. And it's a hard thing because we're so, you know, we've read so much and we watch so many things and everyone tells you what you should do nutritionally. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we get it's a distraction to listen to all that stuff and not
Yeah.
have any clue what the body really wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to what you said about abusing ourselves. Um, I have a friend and mentor. Her name's Michelle Moore, and something she said I'll never forget. She says, I was in an abusive relationship with myself for 42 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, ow, yes, and ow,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because
Yes.
we're so awful to ourselves.
We're so
Maybe not
awful.
everybody is, but I
But
know.
more often than not, that is the case until we find our way out of that prison.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we're not even aware of it until we choose to. look at how we're treating ourselves.
Yeah.
Like for me, even like little things would be I stubbed my toe. Oh, you fucking dumbass. And then, why am I
Yeah.
talking to myself that way?
Yeah,
Everybody stubs their
exactly.
toe, you know?
Right? Yeah,
Yeah. So
but
that's how I
the
talk to
just the
myself.
awareness is like the first thing. They say that in any, addiction recovery
Yeah.
program. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I a lot of time I work mainly with women, some men, but it's mostly women. And this is a very common theme, what you're describing. And I think it actually is just part of like what women come in with until we untangle all that stuff. And
Hmm.
especially the unworthiness and the self abuse and the self criticism and all of that. It's just such a friggin' tangle of junk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but what really tends to make people think, oh, like if you think about any child that you love, whether it's your child, your grandchild, a niece or nephew, or just anybody, a pet that you love, if you don't have children around you, and if they are in pain or they stub their toe or the difference between how we love on them and how we treat ourselves can be very enlightening.
Yeah.
And then the quest is to treat ourselves the way we would treat them, right? Like
Yeah.
that's direly needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been doing lately is trying to be the person that I needed growing up.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually have pictures of myself in my phone from when I was little, so I can remind if
Love
I'm
on
mean to
her.
myself, I
Yes.
look at her, I'd be like, would I talk to her that way? Absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that, Katie. I
Mm,
think that's a really yummy way to not forget that piece. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people think, and I thought this for so long, and I had decent parents, but it's like that they just fell short in so many ways after the honeymoon phase was over. There's that phase when you think your
Yeah.
parents are all that, and then it's like, whoa, they are not. But it's like, oh, I get it. Like when we talk about the masculine and the feminine of life, the yin and the yang, or the alpha and the omega, it's like that's the energetic mother father.
Hmm.
We get to reparent ourselves with that energy, whether it's the father energy or the mother energy. We're supposed to be reparenting ourselves when we get to a place where we're having conversations like this, right?
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to carry pictures of your beautiful baby in your phone. That's what people do now. It used to be, you're too young for this, but people would take out their wallets and this whole like cascade of pictures would fall out
Oh,
of
yeah.
this like plastic thing. Phones are a lot easier, but anyway, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be saying, "Oh, sweetie, I'm sorry. You stubbed your toe. What can I do for you?" Or
Hmm.
whatever. And in the harder things, like the really hard things that come up, that kind of get our attention and swing us by the tail, it's like then we have to really hang out with her and ask what she is trying to have us know. Acceptance is a big thing, just leaning into her instead of trying to run away, because most of us want to resist all of that, but
Yeah.
the leaning in is where it's at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Um,
the beastly move is to lean in,
yeah.
no
Totally.
matter how, wild it may scare you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you were talking about kids stubbing their toes, and I had this flashback. I went to a friend's house this weekend, and it was just my son and I. He's 6, and
Oh,
we stayed. They have like a motorhome on their property, so we stayed in that. And I was really nervous because my son moves a lot when he sleeps.
oh,
And
yeah.
on each side, like the bed takes up the whole room except for like this much on each side. And so
Wow.
I could not sleep because the whole time I was worried that he was going to roll off the bed.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
guess what happened?
He rolled off the
He
bed.
rolled off the bed.
And you were probably awake for it.
I was like, "Oh, Des, are you okay?" He's like, "I'm fine, mommy."
Yeah. Oh my God. He sounds adorable.
So funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is actually his bedroom.
Oh, okay. Well,
My
that's
office
fun.
is occupied, so I'm in his room today.
Oh, okay, that's very fun. For people
Yeah.
who can't see, there's like a whole circular galaxy behind her
Yeah.
head.
It has
You know,
little Velcro balls that you throw at it and try to get to the middle.
oh, like a dart sport or
Yeah.
something. That's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, sleep is a funny thing because I didn't sleep for 4 months in that whole menopause thing, and it was hard. I mean, I
Hmm.
wanted to kill myself, I would drive to work crying, and it was a rough ride. And what I find, I finally realized that sleep, back to this yin yang thing. During the day, we have the most energy, right? So that's what the yang energy animates us. Is
Hmm.
it okay if I use those terms?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yang energy animates us, and that's more the masculine. And then at night, it's more the feminine energy is supposed to come in and settle us and let us rest and rejuvenate and that kind of thing. And that's more the feminine energy. I finally realized, oh, I'm supposed to be cultivating more feminine energy. I don't have enough to balance the yang, so I can't settle myself down to sleep. And so I went on this quest of really, just learning and asking like the feminine energy of life to teach me, how
Mm.
how to live in better alignment with it because I was sucking at it. And most of us do in a Western culture because we're just so analytical and we use our intellect more than we use our feeling sense or our embodied wisdom, like we were talking about earlier. So, it's a thing. It's a thing. And I would recommend to anyone who's, even if you're not anywhere near menopause, it's like, start that now. I wish someone would have told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually interested. I'm glad you brought this up because I I had chronic lack of sleep for years, and then I'm finally able. I'm in a spot now where I'm catching up. I have enough time to get enough sleep, but now for me, it's I'm not staying asleep. And so
Oh, got it.
what you were just saying was really intriguing to me because I was like, what
Yeah.
do I do? What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's two issues in Chinese medicine. One is if you can't fall asleep, and then the other one is if you can fall asleep and you can't stay asleep, which is what you just said.
Hmm.
And that is a yin deficiency. Are you a single mom?
No,
No. Okay.
no.
So, the best, there's herbs for that. That's one
Hmm.
thing. There's yin tonics that one can take. I don't know, this might be a little too personal, TMI, but if you lost a lot of blood during your pregnancy, that might be, or if you're a heavy bleeder monthly or whatever, then that might be a contributing factor to it. But really, what you need is yin. And you can start by calling that in from your own heart, show me how to cultivate more yin in my mind, my body, and life. So, number one, so I can sleep well, but number two,
Hmm.
so I can feel balanced and healthy and whole.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I just like throw it out when I'm doing one of these.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do this, but I started asking questions of my heart when I was like 18, and I
Hmm.
never have not gotten an answer. It may not be right then, but it
Right.
finds its way, and it's like, oh, this is a whole thing. I can have a lifelong exchange with my heart, and
Yeah.
she will teach me good things. So it's just, I imagine that I'm now my heart and my higher self, which I feel to be connected. It's just the
Hmm.
portal is through my heart, is like my best friend. And we sit
Mm.
down and we have a glass of wine and I tell her my stuff and I ask her what her opinion is and I ask her to, give me guidance. What do you think? And it's like we should be in that kind of an, cultivation of a relationship as if we are doing that with our best friend.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And she,
think. Oh, go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
no, you go.
I was just gonna say, I think for me, it's just quieting the mind because I'm constantly thinking about everything. What do they call it? It's there's the
Monkey
term for
mind.
it now. Huh?
Monkey mind.
No, it's mental load. I think that's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Um, where it's just like even if I'm not doing the things I'm supposed to be doing, I'm thinking about doing the things I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And
So your
so,
first good thing to do would be to practice being present.
hmm,
So nothing good happens when we're not present because our mind will take over. Sorry
hmm,
about that ringing.
no
Um,
worries.
yeah, our mind will take over and she'll spin till the cows come home, right? So it's like, and years ago I thought, okay, so what the purpose of meditation is to quiet the mind.
Mm-hmm.
But what? To what end game? Oh, it's to connect with my higher self and just to the quieter mind like removes the roadblock of connection to my higher self. So I thought, well, why don't I just go to the end game? Why don't I just practice connecting to my higher self? And I personally have found that that is easier. It's not to say that the practice of quieting our mind isn't worthy. It is. I love mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to play with a way of being present, mindfulness is a perfect way to do it. I mean, you can Google mindfulness and get the gist of it and just say, okay, all day tomorrow, I'm going to practice being mindful. I'm just going to be present.
Mm.
Oh, here's my teacup. And oh, I have an itch on just be present. I promise you that no balls will drop and the roof will not cave. The mind would have us believe it does,
Uh-huh.
but it does not. In fact, things go better when we're present and when we allow that energy that's 96% of who we are. Only 4% of us is this physical part. If when we let that be part of our choices and our days and our to-do list and all of that, it's like it goes so much better.
Mm. I love this. This is super helpful for me, and I think for anyone who's going to listen to this.
Yeah. Well, like you
Yeah.
said, even if it's just one person, maybe
Yep.
you're that person.
Maybe I'm the person this time. Anything you would say to a listener who is just now deciding, I want to change my life?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question because I remember being at that place. I mean, we are all at that place more than once in our life, and it feels overwhelming because it's like, oh man, there's just so much. Like, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I would recommend that when you're in that place, let yourself be in that place, um, and be present. It's kind of like what I just said, because if we are present, we do not have to figure out what to do first and what to get rid of next and who to call third. And we don't have to do
Yeah.
any of that. Our mind thinks we do because our mind doesn't like to, our mind likes to have the map all laid out, but that's not really how life unfolds if it's going to unfold in a way that's serving to us. So I think the practice of being present, if you do have a link on your in your show notes, then I'm happy to gift your listeners a like it's like a 5-part how to do what I said, like what's the outcome, what's the end game of quieting our mind. If one practices this, if they teach themselves how to be grounded and connected and embodied and present, that is the foundation for everything that needs to be different
Mm.
and for um like fueling that which is good, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I wish that someone had told me years ago to start with that foundation. I stumbled my way through and fell and got up. I mean, now I'm not saying that isn't, we all are going to do that anyway, but
Right.
I wish that it didn't take me that long to find that foundational brick.
Got it. Yeah, I would definitely, I can put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll
And
send it to you. Yeah.
okay, awesome.
Okay, perfect. And you
Um,
you do it too.
yes, I will
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. It's
Not
for
to
my
boss you around, but
listeners.
yeah.
Um, I do have one more question that I want to ask you,
Okay.
and that is if you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
You are light. Every
Boom.
particle, every particle is light. And
Mm,
there's intelligence in that light. And it's smarter than anything our mind thinks is really intelligent, right? Like our minds, like, oh, PhDs and whatever the mind makes up. It's like light is still smarter, more powerful, and powerful not in an abusive way or an
mhm,
abdicating, like not abdicating power, but true power. I mean, I love the name of your podcast. It's us with filled with light that makes us beastly and wild in the best ways possible. And
I
so
love
that's what
that.
I would say. Just know that you are light. And if anyone fills themselves with light, and when I started doing this, I couldn't see the light. I couldn't see any of it. It was just seemed like a dark cavernous cave to me, but I knew there was something to it. And that if I just kept inviting it in, I invited in like a waterfall through the top of my head because we can all see a waterfall. And we all know that a waterfall is cool and cleansing and there's
Yeah.
energy, right? and I talk about this in the 5-day energy thing, that is a gift if you put it in your show notes. I know I keep saying that, but yeah. um, that light, whether you see it or not, will teach you what it is, and that it is you. And that's the one thing.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Laurie Morse signing off. Until next time.